Well, hello. Now I've come back out again onto Lihou Island to do some more bass fishing. Now I'm a bit out of breath, just crossed over the causeway and it's a bit of a trek to get to the back of the island where I want to go. Now I came here about 5 or 6 weeks ago and fished it pretty much for the first time. Now I managed one little bass after about an hour's session. So I've come back today, we've got another big tide. It's actually a bigger tide than it was last time I was here. So I'm hoping that a few of the gullies I saw that I couldn't get to last time, I may be able to hop onto today and get a few casts away. Now I've bought a different rod with me today. I just bought this last week. It's to use off the kayak, but I had it set up and ready to go. It's a Penn conflict inshore bass rod. It throws up to 50 grams and it's a 7'2" rod. Now on here I've got a Shimano Sahara 4000 loaded with 15-pound Varivas braid, and I'm using a 20-pound 3-foot leader of fluorocarbon. Now I'm going to be throwing out a variety of lures. I'm going to get to the mark where I want to be and see what the tide is like. Might throw a surface lure out, or I might throw a soft lure at first, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, bass are the target today. Hopefully we can find one or two. It's a good time of year, so it's got to be a few bigger ones showing up now. But this is where I'm going to be fishing. Starting off just behind me, we've got a northeasterly wind. So where I am now on the island, this is the most sheltered area. If I go over the other side, I'll be fishing into a crosswind, and I think I've actually got a little wind knot on my reel already, so don't really want to make that worse or lose too much line. But anyway, gonna get down there and hopefully we can find some fish. Look at all the weed thrown up further up the beach, goes all the way back there. We've had some pretty rough weather lately. The last 3 days have actually been fairly settled, and it was only since sort of yesterday night that the wind picked up again. It's not too bad at all, it's about force 3, and it's meant to stay fairly calm for the week before some southerlies come in. But yeah, the rough weather we had, it's literally every beach at the moment looks like that. The whole of the west coast is pretty unfishable. I'm getting closer to the shoreline now, and like I said, got a crosswind coming in here, so I might stick a heavy lure on to start, just to be able to get it out. I'm going to lose a bit of distance on my casting today with using a shorter rod, so I might stick something like the Samson bomb on, which is a 21-gram lure, and we'll see how we get on with that. So I've just clipped on the Samson bomb in white. Now obviously it's daylight, it is very overcast, the water's a little bit murky, so I'm going to start with a white lure. There's a fair bit of swell coming in here, and like I said, I've got a crosswind coming straight across me, so hopefully this is going to pierce against the wind and get out further enough. Now I'm going to start in this area, and then I might move round to an area which I've never even walked around before, purely because I'm going to have a lot of shelter from the wind there. The wind should be straight behind me. So we'll give it a few casts here, see how we get on, and hopefully we find a fish. Well, there is a lot of weed on the surface. It's all floating by in the tide. I keep picking up bits and pieces. Now I can't actually see the lure really at all. There's too much chop on the water. I'm having to move it fairly fast to keep the slack line under control. But I'd be fairly confident there's some bass in here. I might not stay around this bit for too long. I'd like to go and investigate the other side where I've not been before, while the tide's still dropping, picking up more bits of weed. Right, I'm getting weed pretty much every cast now, so I'm going to move. I'm going to go check out the other area, hopefully have a bit more shelter and less weed in the water. So short and sweet for that little area. Nothing happening. It looked promising, but it all looked like complete sand. So it was just deep water over sand really, from what I could make out. So I'm moving along again, and I'm actually gonna head to the end here, and I'm just gonna end up fishing straight into the wind, because to be honest, this area is where I feel most confident of there being any bass at the moment. So at least with the wind coming in, it gives them shelter in shallow water. So let's get there. I'm going to decide what lure to put on and give it a blast. We've only got about 40 minutes until low water, so let's see if we can find one. So straight into the wind it's going to be. There's a nice bit of swell coming in here. Again, a lot of chop in the water. There is still the weed about, but I'm just going to kind of have to fish through that and hope that I hook into something. Really not great conditions today. A northeasterly wind would have been better, but it's actually got quite a bit of north in it, which is making it a bit awkward to fish. You can go the other side and it's dead still, but yeah, it's all ground I've not really fished, well, I've never fished before, so I don't want to waste time just roaming round. I'd rather just come to this area. At least I know there were bass here last time, so hopefully there'll be some more. Right, I'm on the move again. This is going to be for the last time. Coming up to low tide now. I've only come out for a couple of hours. But I'm going to fish one area where I'll have the wind behind me and casting straight into the wind. Luckily avoiding any knots in the braid. Whoa. So I'm going to head over this way, give it a go, and hopefully we can find a fish. It's been tough work with the weather and the wind conditions, but I have wanted to come back here ever since the last time. I just thought that that wind wouldn't be as bad as it is today. So it's a bit unfortunate. But you often spend more time walking around these areas than you actually do fishing. So let's go check out this bit, and then I think I'll call it a day. Fish on. I am in. I was just bringing it through a gully, heading for some rocks. I was just bringing the lure. There's two rocks in front of me, and I managed to get the lure right in between it. It's only a small bass. Oh, he's caught in the weed. Come here, buddy. Here he comes. Can we get him up? It's only lightly hooked, I think. Now, I haven't got the other camera on, but there we go. You beauty. I'll get to a better area and give you a better show. Well, persistence pays off. It's only a small bass, but there we go. A nice dark, golden dark looking bass, taken between all the kelp. Came up and hit the Samson lure. There we are. Finally got there in the end. But what a beauty. Let's get him back. So all of these rocks are absolutely deadly. Trying to get that fish to a safe spot. Now what I'm going to do, see the tide coming in here, just going to lay him in there. And there he is. It's just going to take a second to revive himself. Don't know if you can see him down there. He's gone under this weed now. He'll find his way out, no problem. And there it goes. Oh, well, I've certainly had to work for that one today. Now I'm going to stay and give it a few more casts. Now what I did then was, there's a lot of boulders sticking up with loads of kelp, and it's actually quite difficult to fish because the tide is so low. It was actually better the last time I came here, so at least I know that now for the future. But I was just casting in between two rocks, which obviously there's going to be current and tide running through, and it was literally right next to one of the rocks that that bass took. Only a small fish, but I'm happy to catch. Saves the blank. Another one on the Samson lure. So I'm going to give it a few more casts now. The tide will be on the turn in 5 or 10 minutes, but we'll see if we can maybe pick up another. Oh, big splashes. Big splashes. 2 big splashes there as the lure was drifting. Can't even see where it is. There we go. But that was just as the lure was drifting through the water. 2 big swells. Come on. Maybe with the very first stage of that flood, the fish have come in. It's quite difficult to work the lure because you've got the tide pushing it one way, you've got the wind, lots of slack line. So I'm just trying to do my best. So I've just stuck on another lure. I've changed from the bomb. I'm going to be throwing out. This is the Samson Stealth Glide in mullet colour. Now I just had a couple of swells for the lure, so I got the lure straight back in there after catching that fish. And what we got is the wind pushing the lure. As soon as it hits the surface, it just glides it along the top of the water, along with the tide taking it as well. And I saw, I don't know whether it was one bass or 2, but 2 separate swells So it looks like there's some fish in here now. It's just a shame I haven't got much longer left. But I'm going to stick this lure on, see if we can find one on that. Now, I'm not going to stay too much longer. Just always be careful on the rocks. Just had a little slip and fall. Hurt my wrist a little bit, but it's so weedy around here, it's deadly. So yeah, I'm going to have 5 more casts and then I'm going to head back.
So I don't know if you can see that very well, but inside there, it's a lovely little wind knot. So that's why I'm going to be calling it time now. Tide's starting to whip in. Not too much, but it's on the turn. So I'm going to start heading back now, get over the causeway.
So that's it for another afternoon out on the rocks, exploring new ground, or fairly new ground anyway. Like I said earlier, it's the second time I've come back here. Just the one bass on each occasion. But it was interesting to see a few more splashes today. Now it's unfortunate because I would have stayed, however, I've got a wind knot buried under there somewhere, and every time I was casting it just limits it by about half the distance. So rather than have to sort it out on the rocks, I wasn't going to stay too much longer anyway, so I've decided just to call it a day. So yeah, I hope there's a few tips or 1 or 2 things you could pick up in there if you're just starting lure fishing. Yeah, I'm always trying to give bits of advice here and there if I can, or if not, just make a video that's enjoyable to watch. So thanks again for watching. There'll be plenty more to come, plenty more bass fishing as always, so I'll see you on the next one.